Alright, in this video we are going to go over some helpful techniques and tips for designing a great workspace for you and your students to use. So let's go ahead and create a new workspace, and let's title it Design Tips and Tricks. Now, one thing I ask for you to consider is to think about using the magnifying tool as you navigate your way through the workspace. This can be extremely helpful for reminding yourself of where everything is and kind of thinking about your workspace flowing like a unit or lesson plan. So I'll show you an example of a workspace where we can zoom out and kind of see how the lesson flows. In my 5th grade chemistry unit workspace, the first thing we see when we log in is the essential questions. We see the title of the workspace that I've given, and maybe you throw in some other resources or perhaps a funny meme to get the students excited about that lesson or unit that you're going to be teaching. But if we zoom out and kind of look at the flow of the workspace, you can kind of see how it kind of flows through the different standards as I'm teaching them. I actually cluster different things on the workspace together based on what standard they are hitting. So depending on what the assessment is, I might tie the assessment with a video or another lesson that I'm teaching, and I might use boxes to create different steps and things like that. And I'm going to get into this in more detail back in our blank workspace. One tip that I really suggest is using arrows or lines in your workspace to connect things and do this flow. Now remember that you can go ahead and drag out and change the angle and direction of different lines. You can use the line to point out specific directions or different things. So group text and the arrows together if you want to point out a specific step or perhaps an article that you want a student to read. By clicking on the mouse once again, you can grab all of this together and move it around wherever you need to, or I can clone it if I need to make another one of these. And then once I'm ready and I don't want the students to be able to move that item, I'm going to lock it in place and only I can unlock it. If you know that you're going to need a couple different lines, a really easy trick is just to clone a couple of these. Now let's say you're going to need a lot of lines. I can click on my mouse here. I can click on my mouse here and I can go ahead and drag over all 3 of my arrows now. Now when I click the drop down box and clone, it will give me an additional 3 arrows. So now I've cloned my arrows much faster. Now I have individual arrows that I can drag out and use as I design my workspace, and I've created those in a matter of seconds. In earlier videos we talked about attaching PDFs to the workspace. If we think about adding a PDF or perhaps an image of something that we want to make a copy of, we're going to just pick one of the pages to start. So I can go back to my hand here and I can resize this to be a little bit smaller, because realize that when students go in to write on this PDF, they'll zoom in with this feature right here. Now I can go ahead and take my mouse and I can make, let's say, 3 copies of this quickly. Now let's say I'm going to have 9 students in my class complete this. I'm not going to go in and drag down 9 clones of this. So I can actually just drag over, once again, the drop down box, clone, there's 3 more, and here's 3 more, and look how quickly I've created 9 for the students to use. Now once your students begin writing on this PDF, it's important that you or the student lock the PDF in place. So if we zoom in a little bit closer, we can see why this is important. If I start to draw or something on this PDF, or I'm handwriting or I'm typing, as soon as I go to move this PDF, it's now detached from what I meant to write on the PDF. I like to highlight all of the PDFs that I plan to have students write on, and I go ahead and lock them in place. You can decide if you want your students to be able to unlock them or if only you want to be able to unlock them. This way, when the students start writing on the workspace and they start annotating their PDF or whatever it is they're doing, then when you go to try and move the PDF itself, it will not move away from the annotations.